Sick at camp. How many of you got sick when you went away to camp? I remember a time when Steve did. He came home with strep throat. For the whole 2 weeks, he never changed his jeans or his underwear. This shocked his mother, but realistically, no one ever died of having dirty clothes. I went to camp as a 9-year-old boy. It was a camp sponsored by the Methodist Church at its campground on the Illinois River near Havana. I was one of several children from the Maroa Methodist Church to attend camp that early August week. From the moment of arrival, things did not go well for me. The dorm I was assigned to was furnished with bunk beds, and I wanted the top bunk. But some way or another, I ended up on the bottom bunk. All the campers had been looking forward to the treat of swimming in a real swimming pool every day. But after the second day, I had started to get a fever, headache, and sore throat. The camp nurse told me to go and lie down in the bunk room and drink lots of water. Even though I was sick, I still wanted to go swimming with the other campers. Not only did I miss all this fun, but it was also hard to eat and drink because of the sore throat. This was 1944. World War II was still being fought. Poliomyelitis was a dreadful disease all too common in the United States in those days. Everyone knew that you got polio by going swimming, and that it started out with a fever like any other illness. Children especially were susceptible to polio. I knew that with polio, kids were severely sick, some had sore muscles, and developed weakness. I also knew that some polio victims were unable to walk. Others needed to spend time in iron lungs in order to breathe, and some even died. I figured they probably had sore throats too. As it was only a 6-day camp, the days soon passed, and it was time to go home again. A neighbor lady drove a carload of us children home from camp. When we arrived at our house, I unloaded my suitcase from the trunk of the car and noticed that no one was at home. That was very unusual since my mother had been expecting me to come home on that Saturday afternoon. Since we lived on the farm and other children had to be delivered to their homes, I was left there alone in the front yard. I went inside and discovered other strange things. There were dirty pans on the stove and dirty dishes at the table. Mom always washed and put the dishes away before leaving the house. Since this was so unusual, I decided to try and figure out what was happening. I reasoned that sometimes my mother went to the Johnson farm, so maybe she was there. I walked out across the creek, into the west field, through the soybeans, across the fence, and along the tall corn rows until I was even with the Johnson house. You can see that on the map on page 72. I remained hidden in the cornfield. Our car was not there. I couldn't ask for help because of that unfriendly German shepherd which I preferred not to meet. In fact, I was very much afraid of that particular dog. Do you remember the story of my unpleasant meeting with that dog? You can see that on page 71. So sad was I that I cried most of the way back home. When I did get to our house, I went to lie down. I did not even know where my brother Tommy was at that time. It seemed oh so long until anyone arrived. When my mother finally returned, I found out that my grandmother, Ollie Bell Jackson, was in the hospital in Decatur and was very sick with a ruptured appendix. She had just had surgery. My mother had needed to leave quickly to go there with Grandma. She was one of the early ones to be treated with the new antibiotic wonder drug called penicillin. She did recover. Even though I was still a little sick, I had figured out if I could do all that walking, my ailment was probably not polio. I soon recovered from that sore throat. Unbeknownst to me, the providence of God was working all the time. And there is a moral to the story, too, and it says that even the hearts of tough little boys can be broken.